The pessimist sees difficulty in every opportunity. The optimist sees opportunity in every difficulty. Winston Churchill.
Why do I need to open my watch?
So you can see what it looks like.
It's confusing, Mom. Is it showing the right time?
Oh, that's cool.
Mom.
Our behavior, attitude, and perspective is often shaped by bad news, inexperience, and misinformation. If you sit back and remember some of your worst moments, whether it's with your family, in your job, or just simply your life as a whole, it can be often very clear, frighteningly clear. It's this clarity that offers us safety and comfort. As clear as it may seem, it doesn't always distinguish the danger from the opportunity. When I say opportunity, it isn't always a check in the mail. It's a lesson, an experience, a yellow light, red light, green light, a knock on the door. And sometimes when that knock never comes, you have to build the damn door. This is the story about being one person or one thing away from your goals and the value of relationships. The 305, Miami, Florida. Didn't know much when it came to this illustrious city. I was entering college and was trying to break away from the normalcy of Orlando, where I once grew up. While there were many schools I could choose from, the decision weighed very heavily on this factor alone. Their colors were blue and gold, and that was enough for me. For the next 4 years, I almost blindly set path on what shaped the life that I live today. Growing up, my hair and I never were the best of friends. Tried many styles through the years and never quite got it right until discovering through YouTube curly hair routines that worked. From there, my fascination actually grew to the point where I started a curly hair club with other curly hair enthusiasts. It was quite a hit at the time. Naturally, I wanted to help others in the way that I was brought up. And to do that, I needed to learn how to content create. It can be overwhelming starting a new skill, and I needed to figure out the best way to start. I later realized just starting is often the best way. With minimal research, I found a camera that was way outside of my budget at the time. And in the same motion, I signed up to 3 internships with the presumed skill of content creation. 2 of them agreed right away, but one of them asked for an example of some work. My camera had barely left my cart at this point, so I didn't really know how to show my worth, but I did have one idea. A cinematic lunch retrieval shot on my iPhone. It was dog shit. However, it showed enough promise for a chance, so I'll take it. From there, I had the whole summer to develop this skill and hopefully bring some value to these internships. But all of this was while I had to study for the LSAT. Half the day was spent learning about analytical and logical reasoning, and the other half was figuring out the exposure triangle on a camera. As we neared the end of the summer, I sensed that I was drawn more to my capability with a camera than how I would fare in a legal setting. So I told myself, if I am not where I want to be the same time next year, I better get ready to lug a briefcase and protect somebody's rights. One of the most important parts of this journey was my introduction to Clemson football. I was told by my internship supervisor at the time to take a look at what they had going on. I came to find out a lot of what I had seen was done by students like myself. Andy Turner was the person I found in my search. I sent him a message, and it kind of went along the lines of, I will pay you any amount of money just to have a conversation with you. He accepted, and thankfully, he didn't ask of anything north of $1 million. But looking back, I probably would have found a way. He answered all of my itching questions and essentially created a new direction in my content journey. COVID. I think for many of us, this was a pause, a reflection, a redirection. I remember the conversations I had with my family. Was it time to dust off my LSAT prep book? Did I need to go for a master's degree? Was my dream simply a dream? I think we forget about how many dreams began, ended, and warped during this time. I thought back to my conversation with Andy and the many others I've had since. Each time their perspective allowed me to internalize and create a path unique to my own. In a time where paths were not clear, I simply had to ask the question. Denver, Colorado, 2020. I found a production company on Instagram that I grew quite fond of. Fresh State Media specializes in content creation for athletes and celebrities alike in their highest moments in their careers. I sent a message requesting to intern for them one day, and before I knew it, by week's end, I was on a plane going to another unfamiliar territory in Denver, Colorado. During this time, I learned a very important lesson. For anyone that sets path on a career that was once a hobby or something they were passionate about, what can quickly come is responsibility. What you were once doing for your own entertainment and enjoyment can be coupled with stakes, compromise, and commitment. All things I was unfamiliar with, coming from doing videos in my bedroom. In the beginning, to be honest, my work ethic was just not at the level of the cause. So simply, I not only had to know how to do the work, I needed to know why I am doing it. While it didn't come in a neatly packed Amazon Prime delivery, the lessons that did come stuck with me for life. And I have the people at Denver to thank for that. I returned home with a heightened perspective and a new challenge I wanted to embark on. Being an esteemed COVID graduate, I never quite got the college athletics experience that my peers in Denver got to experience. I had been warned that this life is not for everyone, but it can be one of the more rewarding things to happen in your career. While again, the path was not clear, I had to ask the question. Dalton Conrad, he's a pioneer in this sports content space and worked at University of Central Florida. I had gotten to know him through social media for a while and asked him simply if there was any opportunity at all to intern for him. He and the head of production, Zach, turned around and offered me the chance at a full-time position. I remember my emotion that went through me during this time. It was excitement, it was relief, and about an ounce of fear. It was excitement, relief, but about an ounce of fear. Had I learned enough of the craft to accept such a responsibility? Have I matured enough to truly make this my career? 3 years later, I owe much of what I know creatively through my time there. From NBA drafts, NCAA championships, and everything in between. What I did not know at the time is that I had not reached the end of my journey. Not even close. My lips get dry, bro. The prospect of making my own production company began to take form. My relationships up to that point built me many doors, but I was often unable to answer. I freed myself of what was overall a pleasant and rewarding experience and traded that for the entrepreneurial void. It was frightening, to say the least. I had no work. I had no real strategy. I just knew, like the many opportunities that had come before, I would invite it in. A few weeks go by, I get a call to shoot an NBA player, De'Aaron Fox, in Sacramento, California, for one of the biggest signings in athletics history. A few weeks go by, I get a call to shoot an NBA player, De'Aaron Fox, out in Sacramento, California, for one of the biggest athletic signings in sports history. Shortly after that, I began working with more NBA players, such as rising star Paolo Banchero, and 4-time NBA champion Stephen Curry. A trust to create for some of the biggest names in sports began to take shape, with content creation being somewhat new in comparison to the traditional pathways of film and photography. I hope my perspective can offer some direction or insight. Curiosity and openness to change were the key deciders in my fate. If one or the other were out of whack, it was simply time to ask the question. This concludes the telling of the story. However, there's still much more written on a page somewhere. Be easy.